All right, tonight we're talking about team. This is church planting and the similar principle of church growth. Is it cold in here? Is this a meat shop or something? Huh? What do we do about it? We just sit here like sheep, doing nothing, just suffering. Are we going to be active, proactive? Are we going to take this situation in our own hands and do something about it? We're going to embrace our circumstances in love and endure. Okay? That's a good point. Sometimes, we are... we have to make our decisions about when you're in a third world country or you're in a situation. It might be that you have to make a decision about what you're going to take and accept as from God and what you're going to change. And both principles are biblical. I'm going to change something. Give me a Bible example. I'm going to take the situation. I'm going to do something about it. David and Goliath. I think that's a good one. David said, what? He's cursing the living God, the armies of the living God. Not going to happen too much longer. I'm there. I'm believing, and he changed it. And give me an example of being submitted to your circumstances, also in the will of God, and not changing anything. Tom? Okay, which one is that? Maybe she was willing to, like she had to go before the king, and right? Yeah. Yeah, you're answering the first part of the question, right? It fits maybe the first part of the question better than the second, and we're surprised at how good that is. Okay. But not being submitted to God, she was, but being submitted to God in my circumstances and just taking it as God's will. And suffering perhaps because of it. Yeah, Justin? Okay, Grant? What? Joseph, in which regard? He was thrown into the pit. Yeah, he couldn't do it. He didn't like it, but he really couldn't change it. Guess what? Jonah. Wow, we're not doing too good. Yeah, Visa. We all know so much Bible, but we're not like, doing. Okay, yeah, Visa. Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. Richard? Pardon? Jesus. Yes, I believe in him. That's actually the one I think is that was the one I was thinking of, that he died on the cross and didn't change it, but he had the power to, but he didn't. He accepted it, and that was his mission. And I'm just saying maybe that's just a good example how a missionary may go to a mission field. He may have a lot of power, influence, and so on, but God may not give him the right to use that, but to be submitted to God and endure. And sometimes it just comes upon you anyway, and you just cannot change it. But if a room is hot, or cold, like ours is here tonight, and we're just sitting here freezing, it happens in the third world. And actually here, we just take, getting cold and sick and everything. And you have to, we have to say, I am humble, I am submitted to God, I don't have anything to say about this, I accept these circumstances. Or on the other hand, we are proactive, we are the head and not the tail. We have the authority to change things, and I should have something to say to the administration and say, would you please, adjust the temperature of the room. I know you have the power to do that, and I'm asking you that. And then they could say, aren't you a humble, submissive disciple? And the answer is, I am, and that is really why I have this love and this care to change things. Because missionaries are people that have love and they care and they change things. It's not passivity, it is activity that we're called to. That's kind of what, it goes along with our class. Let's look up at the board here for a minute. We got a congregation, we have our team. We've been talking about our core team, and what we want to speak about tonight is love. Turn to 1 Corinthians 13. Wasn't that a good conversation? Just a little discussion we had just now? Woo-wee! That was a good one. And I think the point was made. Is that correct? Did we get that? Did you want to keep talking? Because your hands are going up all over the... Everybody here's got something to say tonight. What do you think? 1 Corinthians, yes, Heidi, I mean. Sorry.
What is a good way to distinguish between the times when you should be passive and the times when you should be active? What is a good way to determine between those two?
She said, how do you know when you should turn the other cheek, take the hit, eat it, bear it, endure it, forgive, go on, and not be active in terms of changing things, going to a court, going to a judge, going to the administration, going to higher authority. And how do you know when not to and when to do so? It's a good question. I think maybe one of the things is if the offense is bothers you, Matthew 18, there's an offense, and what's the nature of the offense? Can it be easily remedied? Is it practical? Is it a practical issue that just takes some activity, ingenuity, or work? Can I change it by working? Can I change it also by practical communication? I think we should be communicators. When I am bothered by something, I may choose to be quiet, to bring it before God, ask for wisdom. And one of the characteristics of love is this ability to endure, be patient, and also look for the opportunity that's appropriate, for it, opportunity that is appropriate. and also the order of government, how to go about it. I'm a big person on government. I like it. I think it's a blessing. It's a gift. Government is what gets things done effectively, and if it's good government. And in a team, there needs to be government. We send out teams. Team is submitted to the authority here, the elders here, and as you know, Pastor Shabeli, Pastor Hadley, myself, all of us are really actively involved with our missionaries on the field. And we care about them on the phone, emails, and because we are part of God's government in caring for what they are doing and overseeing them. This is a voluntary relationship. We could say that the voluntary relationship in love is the one that really makes a big difference. It's a spiritual. It's Jonathan and David, spiritual relationship. Jonathan and David, their hearts were knit together. And, this happens in the work of Christ in the world where we are fitly framed together. We feel and sense that we are part of each other in the ministry and what we're doing. And we would want you to feel that and to know that we know you, we know your name, we care about you, we minister. Because I've been about 20 years in Europe, so I know people and places, and I get emails and communications, and it means a lot to me as I know it does to them. This is part of, I think, what Heidi's question is. Like, how do I know when I'm being pushy, manipulative, I don't get my way, I'm irritated, I'm unhappy. I ever talked to somebody recently that disagreed with a person's decision, and I said, you pray about it, and you have the freedom to tell them your opinion once, but not twice. You can talk to them and talk to them about what you're thinking and feeling about this. But if they asked you your opinion, that would be even better. But people, sometimes they make decisions, they don't ask your opinion, and you have to decide if you're close enough to them to talk to them personally about it and give them your opinion. If you give your opinion or in your view, and it may be of God, like your view may be of God and may help them, but do you know that your opinion is of God? If you do really feel strongly about that, then you can talk to them as a friend. But you can't hound them. You cannot manipulate them. You cannot be on their case. You pray for them and you love them and you let them make mistakes. This in the context of the bigger picture of love. This is team life is including this principle of giving people room and us enduring other people's immaturity. You can find in the new church, in the church plant, a lot of carnality. I think we spoke about that before. The point is that you cannot make a battle with carnality. You just simply need to live in the spirituality. 2 Corinthians 10, verse 5. That you yourself are edified. That you yourself, if we're sitting with a group like this, the church group, and just talking about the basketball game and the pizza, and I love Deep Pan Pizza, where we can go on our vacation, and what do you like to do, and how's your mother and your sister, and all of this kind of conversation, which is appropriate in some measure, but the core, the spirituality of the group is important, and for the development of it. So 1 Peter chapter 5, it says, if any man, 4, 10 and 11, if any man speak, let him speak of the oracles of God. Let's pray that the anointing will minister to the body, and our joy will be greater than their joy. Let me repeat that. Our joy, not that we're in competition in one sense, but that your love, your life, your joy, your freedom would be noticeably, just your life would have a focus on Christ in a personal way, that your cup runs over. You have an overflow. You have something to say. You have something to impart to the group. You're ministering Christ in the church, not only by words, but by your vitality, by your joy, by your freedom, joy and freedom, in your lack of or absence of negativity. Like, you are not a negative, complaining person. Negative, complaining. If you want to complain, complain to God. But if you want to have a friend that you want to talk to, I advise that. And you can talk to them in confidence. That's biblical. James chapter 5. If any man is overcome overcome by a fault, he can talk to somebody in confidence. Where are we on that one? Chapter 5, verse 16. Confess your faults one to another. Pray for one another that you may be healed. Let's give some example. I don't know. How do you think? I think we're getting around to answering your question. It's taking time, though. I'm on the mission field, having a hard time. And by the way, it's true. You can have a hard time on the mission field. It's good that you would be prepared in your thinking that it can be a hard time, a difficult time on the mission field. And I wouldn't want somebody to go who didn't have all the covering that they need in their personal life and in the team and their plan, because without it, I just wouldn't want somebody to get hurt, get so discouraged that they would come back to this country and just say, I'm finished. Not only as a missionary, I'm not a missionary, I don't even want to go to a church anywhere, ever. I don't want anything to do with it. That's pretty serious thing to happen to somebody. And so, I think I've seen it happen, and I just think that our preparation is important. And it doesn't have to be that way. There can be root problems that we carry with us when we go into a mission or into a work, and they may surface when I'm on the mission field. Self-image issues, depression issues, usually self-image, and I need help. And also the team that I am on, this green on our picture, that's what's going to help me. These people, it says in Philippians chapter 3, if any man speak, our conversation is in heaven. Our conversation is in heaven. And I need a lot of the Bible to keep my way, and I listen to the Bible. I remember sometimes when I have hard times, I get real quiet. I remember what I have believed. I don't have to be much. I'm not asking, I don't need to be an important person. I don't need to do anything great. I just want to be before God, worship Him and listen to Him. And He will build me up, and He will love me and carry me. So I will put on the headphones and listen and be built up spiritually in my heart, and keep walking in love. And I've found these friends, these people that are my friends, and we know what is in our hearts. These are and then the ministry to the others as they grow. And when you find people growing, it's based on a few principles in us. Number one, you are not sensitive to injury. If somebody hurt you, you're not sensitive to it. The lifestyle of the people, sensitive to the lifestyle. Do you have to go by bus or walk? I remember being in Albania, and the bus, there was one bus, I think. There was one traffic light in the whole city, and in the 1960s. And there was probably one car that could stop at that one traffic light. I mean, it's a poor, former communist country. And we walked across the city. It took us an hour and a half. But if we had waited for the bus, we would have had to wait like some hours, one of those type of. And if the lifestyle is hard for you, if you react to it, it's just difficult. And then how can I disciple people or build up the core? It's okay, I can stay home. I cannot, if that's what I'm to do, that's okay. We had, what I'm saying is that love is not sensitive. Love endures and bears things. Love doesn't imagine injury. Imagine injury. It goes with the flow. We could say goes with God's flow of life and love. Number 4, it is not suspicious. And I put in here the word naive. When we had our team in Finland, there was a guy that came into our Bible study, into our home, and I was very naive when it came to people, but not suspicious of anybody. I never thought of people being criminal or hurting us or nothing. I was just totally naive. And this man came into the Bible study, and we had sauna, we had a good time, he listened to the word, I was excited about that. Oh, this new guy is here, we just had like one new person. It was like amazing. Like revival is breaking, just like big. It was, we did sauna. Next morning, we invited him to stay at our house next morning. He's gone. The money box is gone. The police at the train tracks finds the money box broken open on the train tracks with all the money gone. And And I couldn't believe it, It was like, that could, you mean that nice person? so naivete is one thing, but living in a suspicious mind is another thing. And between the two is where we live in love. We are not suspicious of everybody we meet, but we're not naive either, where we learn not to be. But I would rather just look at people with just the most positive attitude, and that is what love does. Also with team members, we're not suspicious of our team members, and we look at them with edification and encouragement, believing God for their lives. Another thing is hearing sermons. The minute I'm critical of sermons, I'm really violating 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, despising prophesyings. And the minute this happens, or if it was to develop in my heart, I would take it seriously and say, I'm not humble. I'm not receiving from God, from the message. And that has to do with messages where I am at. I may not like the preaching so well where I am at, but nor am I a critical person. And it would be much better before I go on that team to decide in my heart if I can receive from this person as my pastor. If I can't, I shouldn't go. And you might go, you're thinking you might get better and I might really learn to love him and his message. And actually it happened here in Baltimore. When I became the pastor, some people said to me they can't receive from me, and they just have, they don't understand my message, and they move on. And that happens. And I understand that as a pastor. But on the other hand, love is able to hear sermons and to hear what the Lord says, hear what the Lord is saying, and get over the human part, the thing that you are stumbling over. It might be whatever, the way the guy looks, the tie he wears, his age, whatever. I remember in Finland, because we were young, like the average age of our congregation was so low. I mean, if somebody was 30 years old, they were really old. If they were 30 years old in our Finnish church, 30 years old is really old. So we had a large group of young people. And one of the reasons is because in Finland, if you were older, it would be hard to listen to a young man, especially an American one. And, you just didn't feel it was your place. At the same time, we had a man, his name was Toivo. I don't know if Pirjo remembers him. But he was the oldest guy. How old do you think he was? Yeah, because actually we got long years, but does it really matter? Do we have to be exact? He was in his 80s. Yeah, he lived very long. But he was in his 80s. Maybe we met him in his 60s, 70s, 80s. He stayed in our church like years, and he passed away. And I actually was at the hospital when that happened. But he was a great guy. But he was the oldest member of the church. And why he listened and be able to receive was because of love. And love is like this. With a questionable character, let's put here character, circumstances, things I may not agree with. Love is enduring, patient, kind. And this is another thing about team members, is that the weak team member can really be used by God on the team. You would think if we have a team, we're going to have a crackerjack team, like the Green Beret. We're going to have the Delta Force team, you know. The guys trained, knowing exactly. But actually, I've found when you have a person on the team that God puts there, but they're not that kind of body member. They're maybe 1 Corinthians 12, the weaker member, but they're more honorable. And what happens with a weaker team member is that they become, there is freedom, there is love, there is acceptance. And there are people that come into the church and they are amazed that we could have a team with such a person on the team as this person. The unacceptable is acceptable. The person that has particular weakness is loved and honored. And we don't think about it that way because we just are who we are and we love each other. We had one in Hungary, Sid Root. Maybe some of you remember him. And he was fun to be with, and I loved him, really, and he loved me. But he was a bit eccentric. And I've told this story about how he wanted to reach Chinese people in Budapest, so he made a little map. Have you heard the story? Made a little map, and he gave it at the Chinese embassy, and we had 4 years later, we had a Chinese woman working for us at our school, and she said, "Do you know how I came to Christ?" And we talked, and she said, "When I got that little paper, I tried to follow the map, but I got lost. I was turning it, you know, because Sid's maps." And he had a Bible study in a restaurant, and he was sitting in there. She went there, found it, went in there, and she said, when I listened to him, because she was Chinese and she didn't know English, but she went there to learn English through the Bible. And she said this, I thought his name was Ephesians. And I thought he must be a very smart man to write such a big book. But she became a believer in Christ, a follower of Christ. Sid was a blessing to us as a team. God knows. We're not saying it to be cute or to be funny about it. We just are this way. We have love in our hearts. And a team with love is very appealing to people. Like people start to gravitate and they watch and they're like looking how you treat, what you think, what you're talking about. And when they are loved and accepted, they might, and also the direction of the team. Did you really come here to do mission work? Or did you come here as tourists? I remember in one country we were at, this person was with us for many weeks, actually months, and then she said this, I know why you came here. It's because you can have a better lifestyle here than back in America. And that your money is more powerful here than back in America. And that actually you came here for yourselves. That's really why you came here. And I heard it. I didn't talk to her. I let her go, and she made her way. She left our fellowship, and she had her opinion. And it's something to think about. I know in my heart why I was there. She may not know that, and she may have a different view, and then she can have that view. I may not be able to change her, but I need to know in my life, and I want to know in the lives of the people that I'm with, that we are there because of love. And we have no interest to be there except Jesus. We are believing that Jesus wants us to be there. And with pure hearts and with good intentions, we love those people and we serve them. And many times the service is day and night. It's constant. Our homes are open. We're on the street. You know, sure, you may live in a nice place or drink clean water or something about it that, you know, you may be enjoying something about the place, but that is not why I went there. We went there for this reason, and we know it as team members. Okay, so is that clear? That's pretty good, isn't it? That hits us where we're living. And I just say, I think you know this, but what we're talking about in this class is the greatest thing to talk about in this world. It is the most amazing thing to do in your life, is to take this, living in faith, giving all to Jesus, everything to Jesus, receiving in the body, being built up in it, and then also going somewhere and bringing the message. And being very patient in the work of the ministry in love. It's amazing. And it's fun when people start to gravitate around the team and you share and lead them in prayer and in faith and in training, and they become like you. And that's really what our desire is, that they would become like us with the same mind, the same spirit, the same love, and that they would do it again, and that they would plant a church, and they would be teaching, and then they would do it again. And I've said before, we have 7 generations that we can identify downward in the ministry, you know, that we have seen this happen. So it's awesome. You know, this one teaches this one teaches this one teaches this one. It goes down 7 times, and we can shake the hand of the person, you know, today who is, and we have the same mind, the same spirit, the same love. Okay, hopefully Roger Robbins will be here at 7:30. You are dismissed.